Hi guys, welcome back again to another movie review from us over here.
Bombastic side eye reviews.
We just came back from our first screening of Sinners. We finally watched it and we wanted to give our thoughts and opinions on it. So we're here bringing it a brand new video for you guys. We want to give it to you guys straight. Did we enjoy the movie? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, I did too. I did too.
Okay. Why?
Okay, first of all, what I really enjoyed about this movie was that I feel like they got the time era and setting and characters right. Like they got the tone right where it's in that era where it's like there's still slavery happening, but there's also like people can also prosper in different areas as well. That's why the two brothers are wealthy at this point.
They were wealthy because they were con men.
Yeah, but
Mhm.
they were able to leave, they however they got free, they were able to leave.
Well, it's not 100% slavery during that time, so
Okay.
yeah.
I'm fucking this up.
No, you're okay.
Let me know why you liked it.
I like the hoodoo elements in it. I thought that it would be more about like magic and stuff like that, but what actually wasn't. Especially the way that my mom was talking about it, because she's a Christian and she's like, have vampires and all this other stuff, and she's like, fuck no. And the way that she was setting it up was making it sound like, oh, it has magic. And me, I'm a spiritual magic girly, so whatever. And so I was watching it for those elements, which there was a good amount. But I do like the vampire stuff, and I do like the fact that we have a movie with black people and vampires now. And I also like it just because like vampires are connected to the goddess Lilith. So the whole entire time that I was like watching it, from whenever the vampires did show up, I was just thinking about Lilith. So yeah.
Gotcha.
But I liked it. I liked the time, and everything that they did with it or whatever. And then I also like the fact that I like how they wrote it.
Hmm.
It was really well written, and I feel like I can understand the themes and that they're not too hard to get at.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because the other day we went to LS Dunes, went to an LS Dunes show, and they didn't ask us, but they asked people near us. No comment. Anyway, but they asked people near us of how did they like Sinners, and one of the girls responded back with, "It's too racist." And I watched that movie and I said, "Where's the racism?"
Yeah, we were also saying like there was a lot of segregation in the movie and there was barely any like horror elements into it.
Where's the segregation?
I guess they were like I guess they were talking about how they were really showing how the times were in that era of like, this is where they have the workers and then this is where there's prosperity, but they didn't really focus on it too much. So I was also trying to figure out where there was going on with that.
She just didn't like the fact that they had commentary about, the Jim Crow or whatever, because like it barely even focused on like race shit, like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, they were like, we don't want you white people coming in here and da-da-da, but they were also acting fucking weird.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was our little sidebar.
Yeah.
A little lore that we went through.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna say what I liked about the movie. One thing that I really liked about the movie was the whole aspect surrounding the guitar playing of, I think his name was Sammy, the like kind of the protagonist, but the cousin of the movie. It was about him playing music, even though he grew up in a Christian place with his father being a priest, and he was a priestess boy. He still wanted to play music and do that for fun, even though like he would probably already accept that he's probably going to do the same thing that his dad does. But he went out and still played for this show for one night only. because it centered really around one event happening, like a one night basis. And I guess I really like that element because it has to do with a lot of blues music and the soul and where that came from. And I really fuck with that kind of genre and style, and especially if it's like old timey like that, where like it originally came from, instead of like it being whitewashed how it is in the later years. It kind of showed the origin peak of where that was, and I wasn't expecting that musical tie-in with the movie. I thought it was about to be just about vampires and stuff like that, and something horror. I didn't expect the whole musical aspect of it. That caught me off guard. That was like, oh, that's kind of cool. I like that.
I understood it because it just reminded me of like whenever I was in school learning about like slavery, and like during slave times they would have like ragtime and stuff like that. And so like that the point where like he's singing from the soul, and then it shows like the generations from before and then the generations even afterwards.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I think that the movie is very powerful. And it's not hard to understand. You know what I mean?
No, yeah. I think they properly showed in that way. And that one scene where they did show that whole past generation and future one, that one, like, we came out of nowhere. We even looked at each other.
We said, what the fuck?
Yeah, we looked at each other.
But like shortly after, I was like, oh, I understand the message.
Yeah, for sure. I just wasn't expecting it. And when it hit it like that, as a person who really loves like cinematography and stuff, I think they shot that really well. And as a person who produces music too, they were overlaying these songs and different types of songs, from like blues to rock from like the 60s to like hip hop from the 90s, and even that stuff that's happening right now with like trap and stuff, fusing them all together while not making it sound like just a bunch of like noise, but making it stay on beat consistently through the whole thing, while the strings from the blues from what Sammy was playing through the whole thing. I thought that was pretty masterful and genius how they did that, because like that really takes a lot of particularly placing and arrangements of things for it to come out like that. Not only from like the sound engineer, whoever did the sound for the music, the soundtrack of the music, but also the director who made the shot work well with it, because once it was all well done, I was like, oh man, that's the scene. That, to me, that was the greatest scene in the movie. Like, it just looked and sounded visually amazing. Well, another thing that I liked about the movie was how everything looked, and the time placements and the costumes and the characters, and even down to the dialogue of people. I feel like they got it just right, where it feels like authentic. And even with what's the lead actor's name again?
Michael B. Jordan.
Yeah. Even with Michael B. Jordan, even he like could pull it off, the accent, and I could see that he was really doing it justice, not only just playing his character, but like his twin brother at the same time. So he had to really like do like a double dialogue, and that's pretty hard for actors to do, especially like when they have to do like during the movie. You see that they kind of have different personalities too. Like one is a little bit softer side, and one's more of like, hey, we gotta get this done, and you know, don't fuck around or I'll fuck you up. For Michael B. Jordan to portray both of them, it was just really great casting wise, and you really believe the characters and the time era. I think that's what I liked about it the most, is that you believed the time era, because when you're filming a movie like this back in the day, some things could like come off and it just doesn't feel right, and it pulls me out of the movie if it doesn't, like, if I don't see it really well, and then if it's not written really well. But I think they got it down pretty well.
I don't know. I don't have too much to say about it. It's not my type of movie. To me, it's definitely not a horror movie, and I really wish like we would stop calling things horror movies just because it has like vampires and werewolves in it. You know what I mean? Because there was absolutely nothing scary about it, even though I didn't go for it to be a horror movie. Technically, it shouldn't just be considered as that. There was nothing about it that makes it horror. Like I said, I don't have too much to say about it. Even, you know me, even in the movie theaters, I barely even like looked at you and made commentary.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty good movie. There's not too much bad about it. I feel like but it's a personal problem for me because I think a lot of things are cringy. So then like the dialogue to me is a little cringe sometimes. I'm like, why is this person just talking right now? You know what I mean? Type shit.
Right.
Like if like they would have like little one-liners like that made them like supposed to sound cool, I guess.
Right.
And I guess to normal people, if that's fine. But
Right.
to me in my head, I'm like, it's not necessary. And it makes me like want to leave. I feel like if they didn't classify it as horror, I would be able to accept it more and be able to call it even a better movie. I like the way that it was directed. I like the way that it was written for the most part. The visuals were cool. The photography was amazing as well.
Mhm.
Like it was gorgeous.
Yeah. Another thing that I really liked was, I mean, aside from the blues music, the actual soundtrack of the movie, the actual score that was in the movie, like right from the get-go, you can see that it was like kind of a blues kind of thing. But even then, they threw in like some different kind of music elements to it that really set the tone for the movie from the beginning. I could really appreciate when a soundtrack is like really subtle or it's really overhyped for you. Like if it's like, I don't know, an Oppenheimer movie versus a Guardians of the Galaxy movie. Like you can tell like they're for different intent and purposes. But when a film starts and like their soundtracks actually get to me, that's when I'm like, okay, this is kind of cool. Because then it kind of sets the tone for me, because as a director, you kind of want to set the tone for the audience who's watching it, what you see like in your head while you're filming all this stuff. So like that was a huge takeaway for me. Like
I was gonna say I also like the fact of like how they used the blues versus like I'm not sure what type of folk music, I think.
Oh yeah.
Like, you know, they like the Irish folk music
Yeah.
and stuff like that, and I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, how like they showed like both of them contrasting with one another.
Yeah,
That was pretty cool.
it was pretty cool.
Okay, yeah, this is kind of going back to what you were saying about it being labeled as a horror movie. Like, yeah, I was expecting that, and then once we didn't get that, really, I was like, oh, then why is it like categorized as a horror movie?
Just because it has vampires.
Yeah, it felt more of like an action movie, which is not a bad thing. I was just like, it being labeled that, I was expecting something different. But I guess this is the part where I say like one thing that I didn't really like about the movie for me personally. And like, it's not that I didn't like it, but it was like, this is one thing that kind of drew me back, that as a whole piece I didn't like. And that's the fact that I felt like this movie was two movies in one. Like it felt like that beginning of the movie where they're setting up the whole base where they're gonna play all the music. Like I felt like that was the first hour and a half of the movie, just setting everything up. And then out of nowhere, they introduced the vampires.
Yeah.
Like out of nowhere, they literally just dropped it on screen.
Yeah.
Yeah, they literally just dropped it.
I was gonna say that. Oh, it reminds me of this other movie that I watched, and it had this one guy, and dude, I don't remember what happened in that whole movie, but at the end of the day, everyone was like Centaurs or something.
What?
And it was just a random plot twist. Yeah.
Oh wow.
And I was like, what the fuck? And I heard that from my teacher. And so like I like watched like the first beginning of that movie, and then I lost interest, and then like I said, I heard the rest from my teacher.
Yeah.
And then I went home, watched all of it, and I was like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
And yeah, so I understand, because that Sinners literally reminded me of the other movie, and I don't even know what the other movie was called now, but it was ridiculous. But yeah, like there was like absolutely no hints at the beginning of the movie that it's about like vampires. There was no foreshadowing as well, you know what I mean? So yeah, I definitely did feel like it was a completely different movie, and then just out of nowhere they were like, you know what?
Let's give them some. Yeah, because they're all having a good time and everything like that. And then the second plot of the movie it's focusing on this white family that got visited by a vampire. Basically, they invite the vampire in, they get turned, and then they're like, hey, let's go attack the music bar that's happening right now. Obviously, they tie it later in the movie, at the final like climax of the movie, why they went there. But I felt like the first half of the movie had nothing to do with that, and then the second half, it's like, oh my god, there's this element of the movie now, and so now we have to close it up with this new element that, oh my god, it's a survival movie now.
Yeah.
It's a survival movie, because it felt like the first beginning of the movie was about like, oh, we're gonna do our music, we're gonna have this our own way. It's teaching us and showing us about how it was like in the back in the day. But then in the second part of the movie, it's like, oh my god, this is a survival vampire movie. Everybody has to live. There's gonna be a lot of dead people, and we got to see who survives, who can make it out alive until sunrise. And I that's personally one that I didn't like. If you showed a little more elements about the vampire stuff in the beginning of the movie, we would have been anticipating it. But just to drop it on there, like, because one thing for me was like the characters that were in the beginning of the movie, if you're in this world, right, if like you're world building, if these characters in the beginning, to them, there's no such thing as this stuff. There's nothing like that. There's not even traces or talks about it or anything like that. The only small hint we get is the Sammy's father saying like the devil's gonna come get you, but you know that
The devil isn't a vampire.
yeah, like the devil, I mean, at least from what they say, is just a bunch of like sinful things. That's what they refer to in the like Christian community, the devil being sinful urges or sinful, like,
Yeah, but still in the context of like the movie, the devil is not a vampire.
no, like,
Because they were like saying, oh, vampires get locked out of heaven, locked out of hell, and the devil's in hell. So, you know, it's not even the same thing. Like, so I understand. Yeah.
So
I was just thinking that.
So like that, there was no implication of that. So it kind of felt like the second half of the movie, even though I enjoyed the second half of the movie really well, just like the first half, because the second half of the movie is like more action, has guns, it is people, there's blood and stuff. But it feels like, oh, this is a second movie.
Yeah.
It's not the first part of the movie. So like in my way, the way I was seeing it in theaters, I was like, maybe the way they could have fixed it, if like they said like act 1, act 2, and like it said something like that. At least for me, if I was a director, I feel like I would put that in order for it to tie together. But then again, like,
Yeah, because like they could have definitely like had it tied together at some point.
yeah,
Like in the beginning, like, oh, these people are missing or whatever, you know.
yeah,
And there was just a little bit of blood like left at the crime
Mhm.
scene, or that there's just like posters, you know,
Yeah.
like, oh, da 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 da, and then later on we see the same people, you know.
yeah.
But they didn't tie it together, so I understand that. I guess I have a question for you. How did you interpret the movie? Like, what does
Yeah.
like from you watching it the one time that you have?
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
What would you say is the meaning of it? What is the purpose behind it?
For me, the way I interpreted the movie all the way to the end was that basically, the white culture is trying to rob anything that black people have, or anything of resemblance of that, which is, it's basically trying to show the whitewashing of what culture has been taken and portrayed at in the later years, and basically where it started off from. Because from what it's showing, what the film is showing to me, is that that these black people were trying to really get everything popping and really successful for themselves, and then the white people saw like, hey, this is successful, this is great stuff, and there's prosperity happening here. Come with us and we'll make it even better. Basically, come with us and you'll see that you'll be a lot happier. This is a way better living a lifestyle, which is why they're vampires, because they're gonna suck what you are and basically turn you into what they are. And if you notice, when the people that turn into vampires, they're like, no, this is the better way of living. And I think it's hugely intentional that there was twin brothers because they're the same guy, but one of them is being like, no, dude, you need to be a vampire like us now. Join us, brother. Like, this is the way of living. This is what we fought for. Which the other guy is still saying, no, man, we got to do it ourselves. We got to do it our own way. And we can't let these people take away what you already built. And basically, by making them vampires, to me, the way I saw it was like they were kind of like brainwashing the people to think just like them and be like, hey, it's better over on this side where we control you, because it also showed that they shared minds once they turned into vampires. And basically he can tell them to do whatever they want to do because they think that's the better way of living, even though they just saw that when they were living this way, it was free, and all they wanted to do was be free. The main vampire was saying like, there's no such thing as the freedom and stuff like that, so you might as well just give in and we'll make it better, and we're gonna make these songs that you sing really well, and we're gonna use it. We're gonna use it, not you guys. We're just gonna use you. Like, I think that's why they made them literal vampires.
Okay. Because I think it's something completely different. So how I interpreted the movie is that because they had a lot of gems in there, if like you actually know a little bit of the history and then also listen to what they were saying, because they were talking about like prosperous Black communities already being there, you know what I mean, and stuff like that. I think that the vampires really represent obviously ascend, but I think it's society, just community, you know what I mean, if that makes sense, because once they felt accepted in this one community, then they all have like a hive mind,
right?
You know what I mean, all that other stuff. So it's just like, because if we look at the movie specifically, it has basically 3 separate groups, right? We have the Black people who just, you know, there is right after or during Jim Crow, but I'm pretty sure it's right after Jim Crow because it doesn't sound like they have segregation, especially after he made the joke of like, do I look like Jim Crow or whatever. Right. I think that's like right after the fact. And then you have the white people who are a part of the Klan, and that's definitely during that time frame, right? But then we also have the vampires, and it's like the vampires are completely like something else. Right. You know what I mean? Yeah. I honestly think that it is like that community, and that's why they were like, you know, join us, you're gonna be happier like this, you're gonna be free, like da-da-da-da, like all that cult stuff. It's like the religious shit. The vampires are the religion. They're showing the religion through that. And even though like, yeah, they did use like white music for the vampires, but it's also because the vampires that were there were already white, you know what I mean? Right. If you think about it this way, right, like I said, the vampires are already white. And then if you think about the fact that they were saying like one of the vampires was one of the Klansmen's like you know, relative, right, or whatever, it would make sense. So then whenever they get into this community or this group of vampires, there was that one scene where they were singing and da-da-da, and you can hear the elements of the Irish or Celtic folk music mixed with like that soulness, you know what I mean? So I think it's literally just a commentary on just like maybe about mixing race, I don't know, tell you mixing culture, or is a commentary about just like how society takes and then tells you like all these lies. Like, yes, we do know that the vampires were being a little bit truthful, right? Whenever they were talking about like the Klansman's, I don't know what his name was, but the Klansman's relative that became a vampire. Yeah. Because they were like, hey, they were gonna show up this day and like fucking kill you guys. Right. You know what I mean? And turns out that they actually did show up and try to do that. So I think I have to watch the movie again, because you guys have to keep in mind that we literally just watched it today, and we haven't really thought deep into it because we were like, oh, we're just gonna make the video
Yeah.
and everything like that. But if with a little bit more of like watching it and a little bit more thinking, we can probably crack this.
Right.
Like it's a
Yeah.
theory.
Yeah.
Welcome to Game Theory. Let me stop.
Later.
Listen, we got 80 pages of what happened, and we're gonna tell you every single Easter egg in that bitch.
Wrong channel. Wrong channel. Oh, one final thing that we didn't do. Rating. What do we rate this from 1 out of 10?
I'll give it a 7.5.
Cool. I'm giving it an 8 out of 10.
Okay.
An 8 out of 10. Thank you guys again for watching us ramble yet and side-eyed review of another movie again. So thank you very much.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Subscribe, like the video, comment. We'll come say hi and
We hope you have a nice day. Thank you.
thank you. Bye.
Bye.